Welcome, everybody, to another installation of the Gender Amplified podcast. It's called Sticky. It's where we talk about music and faith, stick-to-itiveness, right? The will, the capacity, the drive to keep going, right? What makes for stick-to-itiveness in the people who stick with the music business, particularly people who stick to being engineers, who stick to being audio producers and music producers, working in the studio, working with artists? What is that element that gives them that drive, right? For some of us, it might be our faith, our religious faith, whether we're Jewish or Muslim or Christian or Buddhist. For others, it might just be the belief in ourselves, the belief in our innate capacity to keep going. For others, it could simply just be the belief in the music business. I mean, who knows, like what produces stick-to-itiveness? So this is a podcast where we talk to folks who have been in the business, have stuck with the business through the ups, through the downs, and who have had an exceptional amount of success at engineering and production. Also, this is the Gender Amplified podcast. And for you who do not know what Gender Amplified is, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports women and gender expansive music producers. We are based in New York City, but we do programming in LA and Atlanta and some other cities. And essentially, we reach our mission statement through our Control Room Series flagship program that is a music production camp. We've navigated close to 200 artists through our community at this point and counting. So thank you so much for rocking with us. Please also check us out at genderamplified.org. Now, without further ado, I want to get to two exceptional guests and two women that I am so thankful to have on the podcast, Jett Galindo and Angie Venegas, who are fantastic, extraordinary engineers in the business. Jett Galindo, let's start with you because there's so many beats to hit here. You are Berklee College of Music. You got started at Avatar Studios in New York, which is now Power Station. You have been working as a master engineer on all these incredible records in the television space, in the just pop music space. You mastered the vinyl for Billie Eilish's record. Which record was that?
The Hit Me Hard and Soft album.
Hit Me Hard and Soft. One of the biggest records. You cut the vinyl for Billie Eilish. RuPaul's Greatest Collection of Hits. You also mastered that and actually had the esteemed opportunity to do that with RuPaul in the studio personally. Right. So I like to talk a little bit about engineering, mastering, and the personal touch, during the finishing process. And Minecraft, you master video game music as well. So
it's a big community.
Right. Wow. So you have your hands in all these different spaces. And I think in addition to that, you make time for advocacy with the Recording Academy. You are the co-chair of the Los Angeles chapter of the Recording Academy, the P&E wing of the Recording Academy. And also you find time for that and producers and engineers who need that advocacy work, but then you go and run your own mastering facility. So you were with the bakery, you left the bakery and then start your own thing, right? So I want to talk a little bit more about the importance of women creating their own spaces and their own rooms, essentially, especially in a place like LA.
100%.
You know what I mean? I want to talk now to Angie, who is an incredible engineer, producer.
Thank you.
You were the first Latin woman in-house engineer at Capitol Studios.
That's correct.
Which, I mean, that in and of itself, I could really stop. I'm going to keep going.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty huge. And for you to come here and leave your mark in that way, and also have a mentor like Paula Salvatore, who is a friend of the studio and is a part of the podcast. You also engineered on Lady and the Tramp for Disney. Mm-hmm. You engineered on Encanto for Disney as well. So you have your tentacles in the film space and television space. You worked with Joe Trapanese as well as his right hand.
Yeah, I was
studio running and managing his studio. In addition to all the work that you've done at Capitol as an engineer and television and film, you've done stuff with Hulu, Netflix, Disney. In addition to your hands in those spaces, you also find time to develop new talent. and you have relationships with the majors, Universal Music Group, Interscope. You were a staple in their studio, as well as being all around LA in all the little studios. Every time I go to a studio, you've been there or you're gonna be there. So it's you're moving around hustling, and so you have experience in the freelance world and experience in the in-house world, which are two very different spaces. And so we're gonna get into all those questions. And the thing I'd like to start with both of you, and I'll start with Jett first, is how did you get into this? Like, in what in your faith, in your background, has given you the will to not only stick with it, but to succeed?
That's a good question, actually, for both me and Angie, because we're both from outside of the U.S. So I came all the way from the Philippines. And in the Philippines, there's really no... during my time, as I was like growing up, there was no formal audio engineering program. And in the Philippines, everyone... we're all musicians. We all love music. Every household has a karaoke machine. That's not a hyperbole. That's a fact in Filipino households. So, and my parents are professional musicians, but they trained and managed cover bands. That's a very unconventional way of growing up, to have musicians jamming in the studio. But my parents didn't want me to pursue music, because them being musicians themselves, they understood that there's a lot of gamble to make it to the music industry. And for me, it's a really good title, Sticky, because before this path, I really did not know what I wanted to do. All I knew is I loved music and I loved technology. I wasn't a songwriter, but I loved music. I loved building things, and I loved collaborating with fellow musicians. And it's through, now that we talk about faith, I was part of a professional choral group, and we sang a lot of spiritual music, and also just pretty much a lot of choral music. And I toured with my choir in the US, Europe, Asia. But it was when we landed in the US, and I met a fellow alumni from my school who went to Berklee College of Music, and opened this whole world of the audio engineering career path. And it's when I discovered that there's a path as a sound engineer when I was about 21 years old, being a psychology student in the Philippines. Things clicked, and I kid you not, that was like the first time where I felt that everything just got into focus. And that's the point in my life where I felt like I had a mission, I had a vocation, everything just made sense. And all the decisions that I made moving forward from my discovery of that career path is just me wanting to pursue this path of being a sound engineer. I love music in general, and it doesn't matter which path. I just wanted to engineer music. And from finding a recording studio in the Philippines that allowed me to apprentice for them, working there for 4 years until I was able to go to Berklee College of Music and pursue audio engineering. And many things along the way led me to becoming a full-time mastering engineer and vinyl cutter. But it just led to just passion and things just lining up. And even if the world, even if like your parents tell you, don't pursue music, actually it's that resistance that makes your belief even more firm and just more confidently sure that this is the path I want. And it's not just for the passion, but it's like I am my best self in music. And
I love that.
Yeah, it's like I do not know who I am, and I am lost outside of music.
That's
so true. I am a functioning human being only in the music world. So, I'm my best self, and I'm regardless of all the hardships that come along with the risks of pursuing music. This is where I feel I am myself.
I love that. You're talking about music as identity. And look, I'm about to pose the same question to you and hold your answer, but I need you to demystify vinyl cutting very quickly for our viewership.
Yes. Vinyl cutting or vinyl mastering, but I guess I could
both.
Okay.
Demystify.
So first of all, it's easier than you'd think to release your music on vinyl, especially as an independent artist. And there are more and more platforms, services, avenues that an independent can either hire a service that does everything for them, or you're able to like DIY everything and go directly to the pressing plant, or you could even hire the service of a professional who can do one-offs, like one lathe cut at a time. And rather than use this podcast as like a lecture on vinyl, I actually would recommend. So I'm also a board member of another nonprofit called Women in Vinyl, and we actually all of our effort is spent on just making sure that access to education on any facet of the vinyl world, whether you want to pursue a career in the vinyl world as a mastering engineer, cutting engineer, or someone who wants to be a record store owner, or you just love collecting records, or you want to be a DJ, all the different facets and all the professionals that are in different areas of those fields are all profiled, and there's a lot of like resources. I actually wrote an article on how to prepare your music for the vinyl format, and it's all there on womeninvinyl.com. But all I'm going to say is don't be afraid of releasing your music on vinyl. There are a lot of quirks, but nothing beats having a physical copy of your record that's tangible. And for your fans to know that they can own your music. Because in streaming platforms, you can't own music. You don't own any of the music that you choose to download as a premium user of Spotify or Apple or Tidal. Because if a label or an artist chooses to take it out of the streaming platforms, your download goes away. Vinyl, you own the access to the music. And even the ritual of taking your music, taking the record out of the jacket, looking at the credits and dropping it on the turntable, dropping the needle. It's kind of like a ritual of you just preparing to just consume the music rather than music being the background. So vinyl is beautiful for many of its quirks and limitations. Music on vinyl is different from music in digital or streaming.
Yes.
Streaming platforms is great for music discovery. And actually, with the rise of streaming as source of music consumption, the rise in sales in vinyl records
It's gone up.
is going up because people are starting to learn that, okay, I'm discovering so much great music on streaming platforms and TikTok, but now I want to own this music and I want to support the artists that I love and I've discovered. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy the physical record. And going back to video game music, one of the biggest supporters, just based on my own experience of vinyl collecting, is the video game enthusiasts, because music becomes such an integral part of their core memory as someone who enjoys video games. And they, from my experience, the video game community really goes all out with supporting their music. And so many limited edition like vinyl records with the best packaging is in the video game genre.
See, so, okay. What's the video game con? What is it called?
There's a lot.
There's a big one though.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't remember. But there's one. It's not a convention. There's this big tournament that happens in Las Vegas every year for like player versus player.
About. That's what I'm thinking about.
I think EDC. I think that's the video game.
We'll put it in the credits.
We will put it in. The E3 is a big one.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Gamer girl here.
Okay.
Oh yes.
I didn't know I was sitting next to you.
That's why you were talking about video games, and I was like, yes.
No, but if you go to like any gaming conference, there will be like booths of merch and amazing vinyl records. If you need inspiration on like great vinyl packaging, go to the video game genre.
See, I'm learning something today. That's amazing, and thank you for that for that. And also shameless plug, Gender Amplified EP on vinyl. Go check it out. In Bloom, dropped in February. Angie, the same question. What you have stuck to music. You have been successful as an engineer, as a producer, as an artist. What got you started?
Well, I think pretty similar to Jett. We come from outside the bubble that LA is. And yeah, to me, two things. I grew up in a family of sound engineers. My mom has 8 brothers, and all of them are, basically all the males in her family are all engineers. The woman couldn't do it. My mom wanted to be an engineer because everybody did it, and they were like, no, this is a job for men. And I never really wanted to be an engineer, but I grew up playing hide and seek in the studios, in their home studios. And, I grew up with that environment. And then if there's something, again, same as Jett, I am very uncertain about so many things in my life. Growing up, you don't know anything about yourself. But if there's one thing that I've ever been sure about, has been music. Yeah. I knew I wanted to do music. And I didn't know exactly what. Again, it wasn't in my plans to be an engineer. I went to school for music production. I grew up in the church. I was a worship leader for a few years.
You were a worship leader?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was singing and playing the guitar, and that was a huge school for me. And life itself always took me to technology. I also love technology. I'm a gamer. I was always in the computer, either making music or playing video games or plugging or unplugging cables and figuring things out. So I guess just, life naturally took me this way. When I graduated, I started working as a scoring assistant. That's when I did Lady and the Tramp. And I've always been really good at finding technology-wise things that are wrong at the studios that I go to. And I love to figure out what's wrong and to fix it. So that's what happened at that studio. I saw some problems with cables and stuff, and I was like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, let me try to figure this out. And my boss at the time was like, yeah, maybe you should, that sounds like you could be a good engineer. And then literally I cannot take any pride on how I got into Capitol. I didn't have any connections. I didn't have anybody. They reached out. The only thing I did was stick to it. I was putting my resume out everywhere. I was super active on LinkedIn. I was like open to receiving, and just they reached out. Yeah. I was working hard.
How you gonna say you can't take pride in that?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Like that's so.
I mean, everyone is like, oh, you had the plug, you had the connection. I do give the pride of it to a bigger power. I do believe in God, and I'm always like, I cannot take, like, I didn't do anything more than what I'm supposed to do, which is sticking to it and working hard. I was going to work one morning and I got an email saying like, hey, we're looking for someone to come work at this studio. They didn't say names. They didn't say anything. Wow. And I thought it was a scam. And I got to work and I gave it to my boss and I was like, I don't know what this is. What do I do? And he was like, just go and see what it is. It looks like it's from Universal, and if it's good, then do your thing. You're growing. You just got out of college. See what happens. It was, in fact, to go and work at Capitol as a set of coordinator. And that's where I learned all my engineering stuff. And I'm so thankful for being there. But yeah, it's been, I guess, literally sticking to it is the perfect word to describe my career. I am just so passionate about music, about making noise, about just being in a creative space. If I'm not on it, I die.
Yeah. It's so much of sticking to it is I can't do anything else. Yeah. Or like you said it, who am I? You know, it is identity. It is and not a chosen one necessarily. It's just innate. It's innate. It's programmed.
Feels like a vocation.
Yeah. You know, there are two things that I want to respond to that came up in what you just said. Your mother. So did she ever explain to you the dynamics at the time? Because it seems like once you came along, engineering all of a sudden became women's work and your family was supportive. But when she was coming up, so did she ever relay?
A little bit of context. My mom is one of the youngest siblings. All of these male engineers were older brothers, and this is back in the 60s and 70s in Latin America, in Colombia, in the music industry, where we know everyone was white and male, and in Latin America it was the machismo.
Mm-hmm.
So it just didn't fit in their brains to have a woman in the studio. The things that they would say was like, if you're in the studio, you're either a singer or the receptionist, or that's the job of the woman.
Very specific roles for women. Yeah.
So, my mom did wanted to do it. She ended up doing something else, and she did amazing. But there was no push for me to do it ever. Once I did it, it's funny because they all had a lot of male children and nobody wanted to do it. And then randomly in life, I went back to Colombia, and they had been seeing, my mom always sends video, and they're like, oh my God, that's the microphone that we used to use for the recordings. And they're so proud. And I sat in the table with all of them. Now most of them are retired. They were crying when I was telling them all the stories, and they were like, we're just so proud that somebody in the family kept the thing, and you're our girl. And they're so proud, and I am very proud in my heart, and I think it's very important, and that's why I'm super thankful about what you do and what you do in opening doors for the ones behind us. Like, I have a lot of pride in being the first Latina in Capital, but I'm also, it's like, that shouldn't be. It's like, who's next? So there's a lot of eagerness in my heart to open those doors. My mom, of course, is super proud, and everybody, my aunt is visiting right now, and every time she sees my stories and stuff, she's like, oh my God, that's like what your uncle used to do. And we grew up, all my family grew up in these rooms behind the house. So it's very special. Yeah.
You're keeping the family tradition alive. And I think in some ways it's a form of evangelizing in its own way, right? What you as an example, as a living example, getting an opportunity to show your family the possibilities, and not just for women or Latin Americans, but just the possibility of a human being, like what's possible through music. And it's just your story is amazing. Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about faith and how it has played in your life, like even your concept of it. Like, what does it mean? How does it manifest itself in daily life for you? I'll give a quick anecdote. Paula was telling about sometimes in the studio, she would have to be like, Lord, take the wheel, and things worked out, like what are some instances where you say faith for you has manifested itself? And it doesn't have to be a formalized religious thing, but just in general. I'll start with you, Jett.
I think for me, so I come from a Catholic background, and my family, just the Filipino culture in itself, it's very deeply rooted in Catholic traditions, and even families that are not like practicing Catholics, a lot of the traditions are ingrained, and it's really a family. And even the singing part, a big part of my upbringing is just singing in choirs and masses, and besides the secular music that's mass related, a lot of music that's shared in Filipino culture is just us singing in masses as a congregation. And I think that really is a big part of just me having the just the faith and the belief that someone like me, all the way from the Philippines, can take the leap of going to the unknown and fighting the odds of making it here. And even to this day, the whole process, and it's I think faith is so important, regardless of your spirituality or religion, when you pursue the world of the arts, because again, odds are stacked against people who are deeply passionate and have commitment to the arts, and especially as a minority in this field too, odds are stacked against us, and we just have to keep going. And the fear of the unknown always presents itself throughout our careers, and as we've all experienced, our careers in the audio engineering industry is not linear. You'll feel a little success and then things start to like fall off.
So true.
Actually, one engineer that I interviewed once, Grammy-winning engineer Cynthia Daniels from New York, what she told me is so cool. Your path is not linear. It's more like a spiral, because you feel like you're going back and forth, but you're actually rising.
Yeah, I love
and it's
it.
like, oh, that's like very reassuring. But yeah, it's faith in the great unknown, and understanding that even when things like don't make sense and the anxiety can really creep in, and it feels like you're never gonna get out of a funk that you're in at the moment. It's like the trust in yourself and the belief in yourself really propels you forward to just executing your mission, and again, vocation of just doing music and sharing your gift, your skills to uplift other people who want to create art as well. But yeah, in a nutshell, it's just taking the big leap and trusting and just trusting to be yourself despite all the unknowns and like and all the odds being stacked against you as a human.
I love that. Just an internal quiet knowing, and like the training of that comes from like having a religious upbringing, irrespective to whether or not you're religious as an adult. There's some indoctrination that there's something bigger than us, and thus if we're in the flow with it, it will reward us in some way, like really like a trust. A way faith comes up in my daily life is I just write everything. I'm such an avid writer. I've been keeping these journals. I got about 50 of them now.
That's amazing.
Since they're about this thick, I've been keeping them since graduating college. And my whole thing is if I can write it, it can come true, right? If I can write it down and etch it into reality, it's real.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think I was in college. I had an MTV notebook. I had done something for MTV, like some sort of on-air stuff. And I got a book, and I drew a sketch of a studio, because I said all I want to do with my life is be in the studio all the time. But I didn't have that at the time. I just had a little bit of gear that I'd acquired over the years in college, and I drew the studio that I wanted, because every day I was like back and forth the Guitar Center. I think at the time they had the Icon console. I remember like Avid was making these. Well, DigiDesign was making these these consoles, these big, massive, like
C24,
big old mouse, like controllers that look like consoles. And at the time, I thought those were like consoles. This is the console I want. And I would just draw it. Because the price tag on that stuff was just so crazy, and I just draw it like one day, and it happened. It happened.
Actualizes.
Like it actually happened, So I'd pose the same question to you, Angie, like, well, how does it, whether you're journaling or just a firm belief, like how does it show up every day, faith for you?
I think very similar. I have a notebook that's like my notebook since I was in college, where I write things. I don't journal every day necessarily. But I remember writing when I was close to graduating. I wrote a list of 10 dreams that I wanted, like 10 goals, and in no particular order. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna cross some, like I wanted to prioritize one, and from that one, all of the other ones will happen. That was my thought process at the time. And I, every now and then I go back to that page and I check, and more have been checked, and they were like very similar. Like I wanna make a living out of music. I wanna be able to help other people in certain ways and bring employment to other people.
I love that.
And there's a lot of different goals that are very close to my heart, and that's like a 10 item list that's been written, and it's on the way to being completed. So that's one. And yeah, I think the same, just growing up in a religious environment, it can be not good in some ways, but it can be very positive in a lot of other ways. I think, yeah, just allowing yourself to believe that there's a bigger power helps you organize your priorities in the way that you just take your life, in the way you approach life in the daily. I feel like that's the way I live every day. I'm not in a particular religious affiliation, but I do like to put I like to think that there's somebody out there, because if not, it means we're floating
right
in the universe.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit, it's easier for me to think that somebody's taking care of us. And I have a phrase that I share with my friends and that I love, and it's spirit guides and love provides.
Okay. Spirit guides and love provides.
We have been put in our hearts, or we just naturally have in our hearts these dreams and these vocations and these ideas, and you really need to listen to that, and you need to listen to yourself, and in the journaling, meditation, praying, whatever it is, helps you come back to that essence in your heart, in your soul, of what you are, and then you leave the path that's telling you that you have to go. And when you do that, then you're living with love, and that just brings provision. That's the way I see things. And
take the first step, and the rest will be given.
Spirit guides, love provides, and that just relieves a little bit of anxiety in my life, and I'm just rolling.
I love that, and I think it brings me to a bit of a practical advice when it comes to the freelancer's life, right? Because so much of that can just feel like you're being suspended off of a bridge.
Totally.
You just like, yes. And the money just a lot of times just shows up, doesn't it? Like, it's like you'll get that call, and
it's crazy.
You'd be like looking like, studio rent is about to be.
It's really
and
funny.
It's like,
yeah, because I'm like in a building right now where my studio is, where I'm with other amazing engineers, including Eva Reistad. And we shout out Eva.
Shout out Eva.
And we always have this conversation where, like, any one of us will have like a tight month, but suddenly it's like the next month, like things are started pouring in. But it's just how you framed it. Like, when things are really tough, something will provide.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's weird how for many years, over a decade of working in this industry, it's been consistent. So I guess in a way it's like the trust. Mm-hmm. And for freelancers, that's also very important. That's why I asked one of my mentors if the anxiety ever goes away for like moments where there are like slow periods. And he said, no, it's never going to go away. You just have to, it's an exercise.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really an exercise of faith and just putting the trust in you and the universe.
Yeah, it's really listening to that. Okay, I'm doing this thing that I am called to do. In our case, is engineering, and it's like, I'm doing the thing, and I'm gonna keep pushing, and I'm gonna keep doing my thing, and you get the message, and you get the call, and it's like, can you mix this? Can you? And it's like, Yes, there you go.
Yeah, it's like the call that you got for the job at Capitol. It's just like you were doing the work, and then there was a release of resources. It's kind of, in an odd way, it conjures the birthing analogy. You know, there are contractions, there's a tightening, and then there's release, right? But that's when you're bringing forth something really beautiful. Like, and apart from that, I don't know that the labor pains, I think it's just kind of like part of this whole process of bringing forth something beautiful, right? Because there's just having work, and then there's bringing forth greatness. There's bringing forth music, which is beautiful. There's bringing forth these moments, because I don't know if y'all feel this way, but like record making at the level that y'all do it is moment making, right? You know, Brat is a moment. You know, Minecraft, that's a moment. That's not, you know, Encanto, that's a moment. It's not, there's a cultural appetite that gets fed.
That's right.
And people go forth with much more than a piece of music. They go forth with a whole new way of thinking about something. Like there's a tidal wave through culture that this art brings forth movements of people where the cultural zeitgeist is warped by a piece of art. And I really think that's like the power of working at the commercial level, at the Grammy Award winning level, at the you know, corporate level, for the lack of a better terminology. But it's like, that's what the machines help to do. That's what the Disneys help to do, and the Universals help to do, and you know, the huge corporations that help to push that or usher in those powerful moments that change our lives through art. So I'd be remiss not to bring up AI with two engineers sitting next to me. I'm just gonna say this. I'm curious what y'all feel about this. I had a call with one of the bigger AI music generative companies yesterday, and they were showing me a new generative project, or that was essentially reproducing some of our greatest artists, or regenerating some of our greatest artists. I mean, think, you know, Marvin Gaye. Think they're generating from trained models, AI models, new copyrights from these legendary artists that have gone along, and the vision is that the fans now can have a new type of access to these artists. I just like to throw that out. That's all I'm gonna say. I like to just throw that out and listen. I'm not saying anything good or bad. Completely neutral. I'm just giving information. And what do you think? What are your thoughts? What are your first impulses to something?
So
like that?
I think and again, this is still like a very heated topic, and it's more important that we're having this conversation rather than like sweeping it under the rug and just like completely dismissing AI as like enemy. Technology has always helped lift up humans throughout history, but also if without taking responsibility, it can go the other way. So I think it's by addressing it head on and having all these conversations. That's what's going to help like harness the power of AI and machine learning to a way that's more equitable and something that serves music, humans in general. And but in my opinion, I think what makes art special is that
the human element.
The human element. And like someone told me, this is such a great phrase. AI has not experienced heartbreak the way that humans have, and it's the pain, and it's the imperfections, and it's the rule breaking. It's all that makes art, and art just being questioning, art being a starter of conversations, art questioning the norms. It's all these things that really start or make people feel, that makes art. And in a way, the AI side of it kind of like takes out the humanity in something. And so that's my take on that. However, on the context of mastering, for example, so before the time when machine learning and AI has really like evolved in this level, one of the earliest parts of music technology where AI has snuck in is on the mastering side,
sure.
like cloud mastering, automated mastering. And it's always, I've been asked many times what my thoughts are on this, but let me give like one perspective on why, like AI is not the enemy. Here's one example. So I come from a country where there used to be no educational institution on audio engineering. There are workshops and all that, but back then there wasn't any. And engineers are expected to do everything in-house. Like if you're the recording engineer, you're also the mixing and the mastering engineer. For a long time, the music industry has not had access to a mastering engineer in the Philippines. And for me as a professional mastering engineer here in LA, initiating that conversation on why mastering is powerful can be hard on a community that has not really experienced it firsthand. And AI mastering, or even like those machine learning type features being baked into plugins like AI, it's made mastering more accessible to those that couldn't access it for the longest time. But that, in a way, I like how it served as a gateway for many people who's never had access to mastering before. And that actually has opened the door to many creators realizing, hey, I think mastering actually provides such a powerful impact to my music. I want to work with a human mastering engineer now. So, and this goes both in other areas too. I've met a lot of people who's never gone to a therapist before, and they've started using ChatGPT and treated them as a therapist. And because of that, now they actually signed up with a professional therapist. I've met more than one person who's had that pathway towards seeking professional mental health.
Nice.
Okay, so you're saying working in concert with human beings.
Yeah.
Is how it has to be. Because the reality is that the models are being trained off of human impulses and human instincts anyway. So we're just going to keep evolving, and so will it. What's your take on?
Yeah, I'm not worried about the tool. When you think about it as a tool, which is what it is. I feel like we're afraid of the machine replacing the human, but it's an addition to us, and it's super useful. I like it a lot. I'm worried about the legislations behind it. I'm more worried about the humans behind it that need to think about the other humans,
right?
And give the rights to the people that need the rights in the creative context that we're talking about in the music. I think that's what we need to focus on. We're afraid of giving the algorithm more information, and they already have everything. Period. And it's super useful that they do, but we really need to think and question who's the people behind that and the decisions that we make in all the levels that we're able to make decisions politically and just in general, just educate ourselves more, take decisions that make sense so that these things can be legislated, and that the creatives that we admire, the artists, the music, everything that we're here for is able to continue being as special as it is. So I think that's the focus. I would love for people to change the shift a little bit. Don't hate the robot, because the robot is just an employee for us. It's super cool.
Humans behind it.
Yeah.
But let's think about the legislations behind it. And
As an engineer, I agree 100% with everything you both have said, especially when it pertains to the justice angle and making sure that there's proper oversight, governmental oversight at the legislature. But also, I would say one of the plus sides, I think for sure, is the lack of gatekeeping of information. You know, when I first started learning any DAW, it was just like you needed to find somebody that could show you, or you needed to go to YouTube University and spend countless hours going through videos that did not help you at all. This year, I taught myself FL Studio on the recommendation of another producer friend of mine. Shout out to Melissa Lyric. She was like, you gotta learn it. And then I learned it. And I was like, yeah, like this joint is fire. And my music was sounding so much better. And my productions, my drums were hitting so much harder. And I was like, I don't know, about this debate as to the sound engine and the differences, but all I know is it sounds a lot more full and amazing. But it was like hell teaching myself FL. And I used Chat GPT to teach it to me. And it's like, it was so nice to not have the information gate kept, because I don't have a lot of direct peers that are using it. So it was like, almost like going through a course. It's like, oh, like you just do this. And every time I'd have a problem, I'd be like, yo, how do I do this? And it was just like instant. And now it's like I'm a whiz at it, but it was so foreign, me coming from Logic and Ableton. It was just so foreign in terms of just like how to think about like how it was even set up. But once I got it, I loved it, And it took me a fraction of the time that it would have taken me if I had to like find
the right YouTube video,
or either just the right community. Because honestly, if I'm honest, like the best way to learn anything is in a community.
That's true.
But if you're not a part of a community yet, or if the community is kind of gatekeepy, which that's a thing sometimes, then it's nice to have some options as opposed to just being like, well, I don't know, maybe this isn't for me.
That's true.
So I'm also enjoying like the benefits of like, as a creative.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of upside as a creative, like you said, a robot that's an assistant for you. Yeah,
totally.
That's a really perfect way to put it.
I want to thank our amazing guests, Jett Galindo and Angie Venegas, for being here today. Two incredibly, I can go on and on just about your advocacy, your presence in the business. You're both, every time I see you, so warm, so charismatic, so just shining lights. And it's really nice to be holding space with you and for you in this business. So, thank you. Final word?
I'm just so thankful for you, and for you too. Like you guys, as I said earlier, are so amazing. Every time we see each other, we have really good conversation, really deep conversations, and just you're a door opener for a lot of people. And I see you, and I'm very thankful for having us here and having a great conversation, and for opening the doors for more people to learn about what we do. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ebonie. And it's been an honor to be in this Sticky podcast with you and Angie. I loved hearing your story.
I know.
And I think we don't often get the opportunity to like talk about our passion, but in the context of just our faith and our stories being driven by that. So it's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's truly a pleasure and an honor. This is Sticky, y'all. Gender Amplified podcast about faith and music and stick-to-itiveness, like what keeps us going, why. So check us out, genderamplified.org, and we got more episodes of this coming soon.
Coming in here, the energy was already just open.
Even when we had the intro session, I was like, oh, it's gonna be a fun day because you're around like-minded individuals who all want to create something good, something groovy.
I'm glad you're at the Control Room series and apply to our applications.
We started just like listening to music that everyone kind of put out or has worked on so that you kind of get a vibe of like who you're working with and understanding, okay, do we want to start something from scratch? Someone have a beat or a project that we kind of want to build on.
I think y'all voices are really complementing each other.
Yeah. You always want to have a producer in the room, a songwriter, a top liner, someone who does beat making. We also want to encourage other people to test out new roles that they haven't necessarily been given the opportunity to play really in a studio.
I felt like I was in Willy Wonka's factory this weekend, like being able to touch vintage gear that still works, that still sounds crazy.
The process becomes a lot easier when you're pooling resources, when we have someone like Mo who we can come reach out to for the technical points. And then we have Jewel in there who's, teaching us about the voice compression and different plugins that we can use.
Everything here is so structured. Everything here is like we feel safe.
I don't know, being here has been a breath of fresh air.